Who's this Santa? He's scaring my kid.
Which one do you think are more scary, clowns or Santa Clauses, and why?
Ooh, I would probably say clowns are more scary than Santa Claus, though at the same time, I do see a lot of kids cry more in front of Santa Claus at the mall than clowns. So I guess it's like, for little kids, Santa's scarier than clowns, but the older you get, you realize how much scarier clowns are, because I think it's because clowns, it's the white face. It looks more like the Grim Reaper or death, and that's more scary to people.
Which scene out of the whole Terrifier series was the most difficult for you? For instance, there were a bunch of people who threw up or, I don't know, passed out because of some gruesome murders in your films.
Right.
And how do you cope with this level of gore?
Well, I can cope with the gore because I know it's fake. I know this is not real. I know what I'm doing is not real. We're not using real body parts. Most of the prosthetics that we're using are made of foam or latex or plastic, so it's not real. However, there is a moment in Terrifier 3 when we were filming, I got a little bit grossed out on set, and it dealt with puke. That disgusts me, and we had fake puke, but it still grossed me out. I'm like, and everybody had fun with that with me. They're all making fun of me. They're just so, I think everybody was really trying to make me lose my lunch too. And I was like, you guys are not, you're not being nice to me. You gotta stop this.
What is the atmosphere like on this set? Are you friends with Lauren Lavera or Samantha Scafidi?
Oh, definitely so. Lauren and Samantha are both, I consider, they're almost like sisters to me now. We've become very, very close over these years. And I think that's because we've had to do so many very intense scenes with each other in all the films we've been in together, and we've grown closer through that. And so I would say on set, the atmosphere is really fun and friendly. We're like a big family. We have a small crew and a small cast, so we're always joking around, having fun, and even though we're doing horrific things, I think that's how we cope with a lot of this, like, what are we actually doing here, guys? I'm actually going to cut a person in half with a hacksaw? Okay, let's make some jokes. Let's get through the night.
Can you please tell us about the makeup and visual effects? Are you proud of the impact they have on some viewers? And is the general view like the more people will live, the better it is?
I do. I do believe that practical effects are very good for these types of films. I think they make these films stand out more than if we were doing all these kill scenes with CG. And I'm very proud that we do that. We have a little bit of CG, but we only use CG when it's absolutely necessary. And that's usually just to, like, we've used a prosthetic and we have digitally put someone's face on that prosthetic so it looks real. But for the most part, we use practical effects the old school way with the tubes with blood, and usually someone's on the other end with a pump spraying blood at us, or, you know, all the prosthetics. I sometimes actually do get to cut into them, which is kind of fun in some ways. But I'm very proud of ourselves for doing that. We are trying to get back to the roots of this genre, how all these films were originally made, and it's a badge of honor for us to be able to make our own kills instead of relying on a computer to make them.
Besides art, you were also in Mean One, which is an informal Grinch movie.
Yes.
And soon we will see you as the murderous Mickey Mouse in Screamboat.
Oh boy!
Are masked characters your speciality? Would you like to play an unmasked character at some point?
I would. I love Mickey, oh, not Mickey, but I play Willie in Screamboat, and that was a 4-hour makeup job, so was the Mean One. Very extensive makeup jobs, but I like playing creature roles. But I would love to get back and doing animated work as well, and it's fun. I'm a former teacher, so I love anything with, like, deals with children, like children's stories, and I think it's fun finding a different way to tell some of these classic children's stories, and we're definitely telling them some different ways now.
Art is terrifying, but also has a great sense of humor. Who was your inspiration for this character?
One of my biggest inspirations was from my dear friend Stefan Karl, who I was the understudy for 5 years with I toured with How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the musical, and he played our Grinch, and I was his understudy. And Stefan, you might know from the show Lazy Town, he played Robbie Rotten on that. And Stefan was actually trained in mime work and clowning, and he was a true professional with physical comedy. He was known as Iceland's Jim Carrey, amazingly talented man, and he taught me a lot. And when I got cast as Art, I called Stefan up, and he gave me a lot of tips and pointers, and I actually based a lot of Art off his antics as Robbie Rotten.
If Art could face up against any famous horror character, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a fun one.
Yeah.
Of course, Freddy Krueger's an obvious one. Pennywise, a lot of people think of Pennywise too. But
Clown
I mean,
versus
he
clown.
would just have to point at him and laugh, and he would just, oh no, don't make fun of me. But but I would really like to. It wouldn't necessarily be a horror villain. I would like to see him go up against. I would like to see him go up against a newer character that was in a movie a few years ago, played by Nicolas Cage in Willy's Wonderland. The silent janitor in that would be a lot of fun. So you would have two silent characters fighting each other. It could be a silent film too. It would be very entertaining, I think.
There are a lot of memes with Art. Do you have any favorites?
There's been so many. I saw one today that really cracked me up, and it was just with Art posing like very seductive, like ooh, all that. Where I was just joking around for some photos, and people took them. It was something where it showed like a big chiseled guy. Like, yeah, women usually, people think women go for this guy, but they actually go for Art, and he's doing this little whoop on the ground. I thought, this is hysterical. People have been so creative with him. I'm so happy with that.
I bet you're a great horror fan. Could you name your 3 favorite horrors?
Probably one of my favorite favorites would be Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 Dream Warriors. I think that was like the pinnacle of the franchise. They had some amazing kills in that. Freddy is my king. I love Freddy Krueger. I think he's the most creative horror character ever created, and I don't see how anybody's going to beat him. I have to put the original Halloween in there, because without that or the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, those two I'm going to put in the same category, because those two paved the way for everything else that has come since in the slasher genre. Plus, they're such great films. They're just so entertaining. But also, I would say The Exorcist. I love The Exorcist. It's a great psychological horror film. It's got some very disturbing images in it, and it's one of those movies just like ours, where people were passing out and throwing up during. So this is like, hey, it's fun to carry on the legacy.